And for context, we're joined by a public affairs analyst in person of Dotun, Ojon. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here.
All right. Following the concluded Ondo Governorship election, we have seen different accusations of vote buying. What measures can INEC take to prevent vote buying and also selling in future elections?
Vote buying has actually, with what happened in Ondo State, it's been established that vote buying has become a communal issue and perhaps even psychological, because we took time to do an analysis of what really went wrong, and we were trying to put everything in context. We were trying to know what is the percentage of people in Ondo State that actually participated in that election, who went willingly to vote without looking forward to receiving something. And our results have started coming in, and it is alarming that we are swimming around 2% of the people who actually went out to vote. That means that a whopping over 90% of the people who actually voted did that because they wanted to collect something after voting. So, and I actually listened to your report. One of the things that I'm going to talk about is the collaboration that must exist between INEC and anti-graft agency. Because what happened is that there were strategic ways that vote buying was carried out in Ondo State. But one thing that was common to all of them was the fact that before they paid for the vote, people actually, that was the party agent, actually have access to the ballot paper. It means that when you go out to vote, when you thumbprint, one of the agents will have seen that you actually thumbprinted for his or her party before they offer you money. So, and all of these things, most of them happened while security agents were there. They were looking at them. They didn't have nothing to do, or perhaps they couldn't do anything. So it has become a serious issue. First, the collaboration must be stronger. Anti-graft agency must know that what they are out there to do, because we even had some cases where some officers were even accused of receiving bribe before the election. So all of these things are happening, and an election that is supposed to be judged free and fair was actually marred by the issue of vote buying, and I think it's a regrettable thing.
Mr. Ojon, just to chip in there, you're talking about security agencies. We understand for the just concluded Ondo governorship election, over 30,000 police officers were deployed to Ondo State to monitor the exercise. What, in your estimation, has been the impact of that number of security officers deployed for that conducted or concluded election?
The impact of that really was to have reduced the issue of ballot snatching or people trying to carry material from one side to the other. But again, that has already been done by INEC. If you cause crisis in any of the polling unit, that polling unit will actually, the result there will be cancelled. So politicians are aware, and I think a lot of them are not even ready to cause crisis. So there was not much of significant impact, because if you ask me, really, because it's a contest between about 18 political parties, and I can say to you that the winner may actually be the greatest spender. In other words, anybody who had the money could have emerged. It could be the will of the people, but is it really their wish? Because before vote buying will take place, there must be a willing buyer and a willing seller. We had the seller in the electorate and the buyers in the politician. But what I'm saying in essence is that the presence of security agents within the polling unit did not actually stop party agent, and it's across board, because it's easy for anybody to say, oh, it's APC because APC won and the other party did not try. No, what happened is that people were strategic to have gone for the highest bidder. Some parties offer 10,000, one party offer 10,000 and above. In fact, in some polling units, a party offered up to 25,000 in Idore local government. Now, it doesn't mean that the other party did not offer money, but it's just a case of doing things that you are not supposed to do on the day of election in the full glare of security personnel, without them intervening, without them correcting, without them even looking at you as if they are there to actually prevent it. So that's just the sad part of it. Securing the electoral material, fantastic. Ensuring that people do not move from one local government to the other, fantastic. But on the issue of vote buying, I think everyone, the politician failed, the electorate failed, INEC failed, and police personnel also failed.
Now, looking ahead now, Mr. Ojon, let's talk in hindsight and take lessons from the election. Moving on now, what can be the role of political education or awareness to make people aware of their conduct or comportment, when during, casting their vote, for elections, and also as a way to sensitize them against vote buying or even selling going forward?
Okay, now, before we go to that, I must make it very clear that everything stops at the table of the politician. Because what led us to this place in the first place is the lack of belief that people have in their leader. They don't believe their leader. And there's this communal mentality that everybody wants to take their own portion of the national cake. Ideally, taking your own portion of the national cake, there's nothing wrong in it. That's what they call dividend of democracy. But because people don't have access to this basic dividend of democracy, what they have devised is to say that even if I'm going to see the politician for just one day, I am going to collect what belongs to me. And it has become a communal mentality. That's why when they come out, they just think that the only day they can get the politician is on the election day. So the first cure, as we move forward, is to provide good leadership. Most of the problems we have in Nigeria today, the only cure from them is good leadership. When people know that when they vote the right set of people, number one, that the people will get there, and number two, in return, that the people they vote for will return power to them in form of dividend of democracy, you will see that their mindset will actually change. And number three, INEC is not just about conducting election. Everything that has to do with electoral process, INEC is involved. So from the end of a particular election to the start of another one, each time INEC has a responsibility, and the responsibility is telling the people, is engaging them, is telling them the importance of voting, and allowing them to understand that if they are not important, politicians will not come to them to buy their vote. It shows that the people still have power, but the people do not know what to do with the power they have in their hand. So they need somebody to continue to remind them. And constitutionally, INEC has been in this position to continue to remind the people that you are so powerful. That's why politicians come to you year in, year out to buy your vote. So education, political education, electoral education should be something that is done from the end of one election to the start of a new one. And you know that anything that is bad is not going to be done one day. We just believe that this process will help our election in Nigeria.
Apologies for butting in there. We're pressed for time, Mr. Ojon, but just as we wrap up, this interview with you, just very briefly, when it comes to inclusivity, what steps can INEC take to address lack of access to polling units for people with disabilities?
Okay, so I engaged, I think we had about, I engaged with INEC before the Ondo State. I think we had about 7 or so engagement. And at every point in time, INEC will come out to say, oh, this is the plan they have. But again, they always call for more in terms of access. Number one is that people who have visual impairment, I think are a major issue now, because they have to be led to the polling area, and most often the man that leads them can decide to even set their vote without them knowing. The man that leads them can make them vote for his own political party as against the wish of those people who have such issue. So I think there's a special, I forgot the name of the thing, there's a special card that can, voters card that can actually be made for them to be able to read and know which party to vote for. I think INEC has improved over the years, and I think the next stage now, which I'm concerned about, is people who cannot actually, who have visual impairment. I think those are the ones that should.
And that's a fine place to wrap up. Thank you so much for your expertise on the news. Dotun Ojon, Public Affairs Analyst. Many thanks indeed.
It's a pleasure.